Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. In the last couple episodes, I've been showing you guys Unrest, and we're over in the main room, and I've shown you guys how to get here. It's right as you enter the main house. You take a right, or you can go left. Either way, if you take a right, you'll see this doorway right here in front of me. It's right around the very first corner to the left. Basically, this wall right there where the stairs are is the wall you'll see when you open up the double doors. This is the exact opposite side of that wall. Now, we're over here in this room, and we've been doing pretty good for the most part here. It's just lately we've been getting into some issues. They had a barbed skeleton pull down from some train that hit us from some other group that was pulling unnecessarily and then just running it around for we're not quite sure what reason. I'm sure they have one. Maybe corpse retrieval, maybe just playing around, maybe bad paving, who knows. But it somehow ended up over here, and every time we came back after that wipe, we would get that guy, and it would kill us. Let me say welcome back. He actually was bound over in Freeport, so he had quite a bit of a run. He had to get a teleport and all the way back here again. It's not something easy to do if you don't watch where you're bound. You can really end up in some serious corpse retrieval time added on to yours. So go ahead and sit back down. But for the most part, this room has been pretty good, and within about an hour of playing, I got almost 3 bubbles. Now, I've lost almost an entire bubble from those deaths. I think I got at least 2, maybe 3. I think it was 3 deaths. I've lost almost a full bubble. I saved one body because I had something on him, and Faction says he has a friend that's coming later on to res anybody who needs one, so I'll go ahead and try to get one then. Maybe that will even give me my level by then if Pooling Wall Thorns is active. Okay. And I can zoom out a little bit, and you'll see that I also got some new armor. You'll see that I am a bronze god now. I got that from Quora over there, right there in the distance. She actually loaded up on her paladin and gave me quite a bit of armor, and I've gone over like what she gave me in other videos, but I'll go over it again because that was incredibly nice of her or him to do that for me. He gave me the bronze breastplate, the small bronze helmet, the sleeves, the bracers, the gloves, and then Cantheron over here gave me the boots. Also, Cora gave me the pants, if I didn't mention that. She gave me Catheron gave me the boots, and he also gave me the ring. Now, the bronze armor only adds AC, but a lot of it. The ring gives +1 wisdom and -1 charisma. And you may be thinking, why would you ever want to wear that? Gotta love dial-up Cora. Yeah. I want to pull Cora. Yeah. But you may be thinking, why would you want to take a -1 charisma just for 1 wisdom? Well, charisma is not something I use for really any of my skills other than to sell and buy stuff. And I can take this off when I go back to town to sell and buy, because you don't go back all the time. You're not constantly buying and selling. So a lot of people, especially at higher levels, will have an entire suit of armor that they take off, that they use during their grouping or raiding or whatever the case is. They'll take that off and put on an entirely new suit that's devoted to charisma, and they're up their charisma by like 40 or 50 points and get far better prices on the items. Now, normally you're not going to really see a huge savings when you do it that way, because you add 40, 50 wisdom or charisma to your items. Well, yeah, you're going to get, instead of 1 gold, it's going to be something like 7 silver. So yeah, it's saving you like 3 silver a piece, and that does add up. But if all you're buying is food, you're not going to really see all that much. But when you go in there and you buy your spells, that can cost 10, 15, 20 platinum, and you get it for, instead of 10 platinum, maybe instead of maybe 15 platinum, you get it for like 10 platinum. Well, yeah, that is a noticeable markdown in price, and it definitely starts getting you motivated to get more charisma items. When you start seeing stuff like that, you're like, oh, okay, now I understand why people do it. And you will see a marked difference like that on really high-priced items. And then if you get into like jewelry making or doing any of your trade crafting, and you have to buy stuff from vendors, you'll notice that overall, if you have to go in there and constantly buy bread, and you're buying, 3, 4 backpacks full of bread so you can make food, because each one of the items you're making is using, like, say, 4 or 5 pieces of bread for one little tiny piece of food, you'll notice that, yeah, I'm saving quite a bit of money, by having my charisma items on. So it's definitely worth considering, and if you haven't gotten into making a set of armor for charisma, or having a backpack full of stuff like that just for charisma only, I would suggest having that. Now, do you want to carry that on you at all times? That's really up to you. You can if you really, really want to, but if you don't have the space, or you're constantly becoming over encumbered or overweight, you can carry it on the bank. I mean, because usually the only time you will need to put that stuff on is when you go to town to sell. And when you go to town to sell, there will be a banker there that you can pull your stuff out. You don't have to go to, say, Fadar's bank and pull out the stuff there so you can use it over in Grob. Granted, you couldn't go to either one of those banks as one class, because an evil class can't go to a good city, and good city can't go to an evil city, and things of that sort. But if you could go... Oh, we got another person. What level? Sasa. Let's see. She is red to me. Be right back, UPS man here. Got a sign for the wife's leggings. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out what level she is. A 19 magician. Nice. So not only did we get basically a wizard, just by her, because she cast a lot of spells like that, but we also get her pet. So that's definitely going to come into play here. But we have had issues with pathing. We had somebody go link dead a minute ago. Or not link dead, but he lost his connection for about half a second, and basically his character ran around the room collecting pretty much everything in the hallways and then some. And then he came back into the room, because that's where, he was still playing the character, it just wasn't catching up to the server like it should have. And so his actions were basically being sent like every 3 seconds rather than every like millisecond. And so the computer was like constantly trying to figure out how to get him from point A to point B, because it would just get information packets basically saying, oh, he was here at 1 second, now he's over here, and now he's over here, so how do we get him from over there to over there and over there? And of course it chooses the worst possible route for you to get there. And so like I said, it basically ran around in a circle looking for something to pull, and on his screen there wasn't anything there. And then on our screens there was a whole bunch of stuff there. And when he came back, he had like 7, 8 guys on him. And the ones that he did pull by doing that also decided that because he was lagging out and disappearing, that instead of going the straightest path to him, that they would then start going backwards and going around in a weird area. So you have to worry about those issues if you go link dead. You also have to worry about pathing. As I said before, it's kind of a little wonky over here in this area, and it can cause quite a few disastrous pulls if you don't know the area very well. And now, if you have a decent tank, somebody who's been here for a while and knows the surrounding area and how to pull and how not to pull, he may know that, oh, okay, this room looks like the first room you should pull. It looks like the one within the first path that you kind of want all the other mobs to go through. But because he's been here, he may know, I start on the other side. And it may look like pulling that creature would pull all these other ones, but if I don't get this one first, every pull after that will come this way and get all these guys. So it's just something you have to learn when you show up to a new zone. You have to learn how to pull it. And if you're a tank, you definitely want to pay attention to how people are entering rooms. You would think that, okay, I just know that I pull that one mob, that's what he did. But you got to see how he does it. Does he put his back against the wall? Does he kind of scoot around the corner? Is he using his camera angles to turn around the wall and then using some kind of spell that goes through the wall to pull that creature? Because he knows if he goes too far up, he'll get aggro from the other ones. So you got to keep an eye on, the techniques that they use to best pull that area. Is he using fatigue death a lot? Is that how he pulls? Is he pulling with an arrow, or is he pulling with a body pull so that he can limit how much aggro he's getting? from the other creatures around him? Is he using lull and soothe so he can pull single pulls? Is he not worried about that because you got enchanters? There's a ton of techniques you can have as the pooler. There's a ton of techniques you can have as an enchanter, as a tank, as a cleric, as a mage. For any class out there, there's just tons and tons of techniques. And the way the game really starts to shine and come forward for people is when you not only learn your class, and you're never finished learning your class. You're always constantly learning new things, because as you go from a low level to a high level, your actual techniques will change. They have to, because people get access to new kinds of abilities, they get access to new spells, and they start getting resisted a lot less often, and so therefore you're able to do more complicated, more complex kind of pulls and get away with it more often than you would ever be able to at a lower level. So it does change for you, but as you become more familiar with your class, the moment you start looking at what other people are doing and start appreciating what they're doing as well, what they're kind of going through on a daily, fight basis, you'll start to be able to anticipate that and actually do things to help them out. If you're a tank and you know that if the cleric has to heal you right off the bat, he's going to pull aggro from the 2, 3, 4 mobs that you're about to go pull. So you'll sit there and wait until he heals you to full life, because you know it's better to get that extra 10%, even if it's kind of a waste of a heal. It's better to get that extra 10% health now than have him need to heal you 10% more, or to heal you faster because you're 10% lower in life than what you would have been if you just waited till you're full. Anybody happen to have any spare water or drink? Yeah, I think I have some. Let me check. Let's see. Yeah, I got some. So let's see. I'll go ahead and give him 20 of each. It won't last too long because it is just rations and milk, but maybe long enough for him. And I'll eventually have to go back and get more, but anytime, man, anytime. He's also the one who gave me all that armor too, the ring and the boots, so definitely owe him for that. But even if I didn't, I'd be more than happy to share my food, because I've had it plenty of times, especially on a cleric. You'll be surprised about how you'll go from one group to another group to another group in the same area, and you may not do it all within that one day, but you do it before you go back to town again. You may not have to go back to town for weeks sometimes. I mean, really the only reason to go back to town is because you have a lot of stuff on you that you can't part with. And if it's just regular garbage, usually you'll throw that on the ground at some point or give it to somebody else to sell, rather than go back to town so that you can keep making more experience. And going back to town is not always as easy as it may sound. You may be like in Seb, and I know I mentioned that zone a lot, but it really is one of those zones that's epitome of a lot of other zones. For one, it's really far away. Like, you have to travel there through a lot of dangerous zones, and then once you get there, you're isolated, which is another reason I just brought it up, is that you're far away, and you bind yourself. Most people will bind themselves right at the entrance on the outside, and then you'll zone in, and once you zone in, there's no way to zone out without going through the entire zone all the way down to the bottom, and that's not possible, right? So the only other way to get out is to, 1, gate, or 2, get a teleport. And so once you're there, whether you're on the outside or the inside, really doesn't matter. You're really far away from any town to get to. And so as the cleric, who doesn't travel very well as it is, if when you decide to finally go back to town, it's usually because you're over encumbered, which means now you're going even slower than you were going before, which is pretty slow to begin with. Clerics don't move very fast. I think all the classes actually move the same speed, but it just seems like they move slower. When I'm in groups and I'm following everybody else, it seems like I'm always in the back. As a tank with my Shadow Knight, it always seemed like I was in front. So I think there is a slight movement speed. Granted, if you have more strength, of course, you're going to be moving a little faster with a lot more stuff on you, but I don't know. I think there's actually an innate difference in the speed, just barely. Just like there's an innate difference in aggro. Like, my brother played a druid, and I played a cleric and a Shadow Knight, and I noticed a great difference in the Shadow Knight's aggro versus the Druid's aggro. Druid seemed to have the biggest aggro radius I had ever seen in any character. My brother would be following me around, and I would go around a corner, and I'd tell him, hey, you got to hug this wall. We can go around this corner. You won't get aggro. I'd hug the wall, no problem. I'd even come off the wall a little bit to show him that this is the wall you need to go, because I knew exactly how far off the wall I could go. But for everybody else that wasn't that familiar, just hug the wall and you're done. He'd hug the wall, and he'd get aggro not only from the creature that we're trying to bypass, but from like a creature on the other side. And I'm like, how in the world could you pull that creature? And I saw what he was doing. I knew he wasn't, casting a spell. I'm in the same room with him. I know what he was doing. But he would still get aggro. And it's like, it happened time after time after time. And it just came down to the point that his character had to have had more aggro. That's all it was. It had a huge aggro radius. And my Shadow Knight had a smaller one. And so I think they do have different innate abilities built into each class. So some of them do run faster, some of them do run slower. But with my Cleric, when he's finally overweight and I have to go back to town, like in Seb, really the only viable way to get him there without dying time and time again was to get a teleport. And teleports can be pretty expensive sometimes. You may have to pay 50, 60 platinum for a teleport. I've actually paid up to 1,000 platinum for a teleport in Seb at times when there wasn't a lot of people on and you couldn't find a teleport for nothing. And so you either had to run it, and I know a lot of people have no problem traveling over to Seb, but for me, I could travel to Seb just fine. Traveling out of Seb back the way I came would always end in death, and it's a long course retrieval run to do it. And then of course you have to take into account that you died, and you have to res yourself, and you're going to die again probably a couple more times because now you don't have any armor on you, and it's just a lot of time and wasted effort to run back for me, because I always had that horrible luck that I would always get caught by something, and I would root it and try running it, and I'm running so slow that it would break root and eventually catch me before I even got to the zone. I try rooting it again and maybe succeed 2 or 3 times, but the zone was so huge that it eventually always caught up and always killed you. You'd run out of power or something would happen, or you'd run into another one. Now you have 2 coming after you, and you're just not running fast enough to outrun them, and it would just snowball and become this horrible course retrieval run. And so I would usually just pay whatever the price was, but before I go back, I need to make sure that whatever I'm selling is going to make me back the money that I spend on the teleport. And that usually would require some pretty good loot. I wasn't just going to do it for some trash. And so I would just throw that junk on the ground. I'd destroy my copper, even go so far as destroying silver sometimes. Before I destroy silver, though, I would usually always ask, does anybody want it? And there'd usually be somebody who had another alt that was a druid, or had a friend that was a druid, who could constantly come over there and pick them up and take them back to town, or they weren't planning on staying there very long anyways. So, I always give people that choice. But yeah, when you're really far away from a town, you can't always go back and sell. So being encumbered is going to be one of those things that either you're just going to have to get used to, or is just going to be one of those dire situations where you have to start choosing what do you pick up. And usually when you start getting down to that point, a lot of people will spend a few days or a few hours going to different zones and harvesting or trying to get a weight reduction backpack. And there's a whole bunch of them out there. There used to only be like 1 or 2 in the game. The Swiss Sewing Evil Eye bag. And then they started... Oh, she's about to die. Come on. I don't know where you're at. Okay, she's gonna die. Okay, she's dead. Man, that sucks. I don't even know where she was at. Ooh, here they come. Well, at least some of them anyways. Yeah, as the pooler, usually they have a pretty good attitude about it. They realize that they're gonna die, and they're gonna die quite a bit. And if you're not one of those people who are okay with that, if you know, hate dying and you just can't stand it, and you never really want to sacrifice yourself. Got trained, I guess, on my way back. You know, if you're not willing to sacrifice yourself for the group willingly and constantly, then, you know, pooling is not going to be the class for you. A tank is not going to be the class for you. Um, because you will go off and get more than you can chew. And if you're a Shadow Knight or a Monk, you can fatigue death and save yourself and the group. But if you're like a Paladin, or, you know, in her case she's a Bard, and you're pooling and you get a bad pool, and you know that, okay, I got 10 guys on me. There's no way my group's going to handle it. And even if they do, it's probably going to kill 2 or 3 of them in the process. So do I want to take that back? And you got to make that decision. I might take a break, actually. Thanks for group. Okay, so she's going to leave. Wow, she left pretty quick like that. She must have been upset that nobody came to her rescue. I tried looking for her, but I couldn't find her. And I'm not familiar with what's outside this room, so if I go running off in weird directions, I'll cause more problems than I solve. But okay, so we're about to lose another person here. Yeah, guys, I should really get going for a few hours, sleep before class. Thanks for group. Yeah, Catherine. Yeah, to make somebody leader, you just do / make leader, and then the name of the person you want to make them the leader. I don't know how well we're gonna do. I mean, we still have quite a few people here, but I don't know, we'll see. Who did he make leader? Didn't say, did it? Ooh, nice. I guess I'm gonna loot it since nobody said anything. So there's some nice bronze stuff over here, guys, in this zone. Let's go ahead and put that sucker on. Go back into our inventory. And let's see, ring mail is only 6 versus the bronze, which is 8, but you gotta look at the weight. That weight is actually less on bronze than ring mail on the cape anyways, so that's pretty cool. And, yeah, so we got an extra 2 AC, which means we can take hits a little bit more. We're at 309 now, which is a lot more than when we started because of all the bronze armor. Granted, this is really, really heavy. I mean, we have a 65 weight limit, and we're carrying 140 pounds, so we're basically, you know, exhausting ourselves just by standing or by moving just slightly. I mean, we're not gonna win any marathons like this, that's for sure. But definitely something nice to have as far as taking hits. Let's see, Skin Like Nature and Spirit of Wolf still. So I'm not quite sure if Skin Like Nature. Let me see if there's any of my spells that will stack with it. I think there is. Holy Armor and Sinner. So actually, Holy Armor works, but Sinner doesn't. Sinner does not stack with Skin Like Nature, apparently. I think Sinner is the one that cost a lot to cast anyway, so let me go ahead and use Holy Armor on everybody. I got a Fizzle. Whoosh. Spell did not take hold. Well, it didn't take hold on her either. Now I'll wait till I'm back up to probably about 90%, and then I'm going to start using some of my attack spells. Because I do have some pretty good ones against undead that don't use a whole lot of power. But I don't want to use those while I'm the main healer, especially with a group this, you know, not as full as it could possibly be. Let me heal him before he goes out, if I can. There we go. Yeah, and he's at 90%, but that's still better than 80, because when he comes back with 80, if he has like 2 guys on him, like I was saying before, you know, I'll have to heal him sooner than I normally would. Like that one, I was able to get through the entire fight without healing. And that's the best way to do it, because if you heal during a fight, you got pop. It's a room spawn right there. You could say spawn or respawn or pop, basically letting them know that there is another creature here. Now, if this guy spawned, chances are the other guys in this room are there shortly after. And you gotta watch out for that, because you want to kill this as soon as possible so that you don't get overwhelmed, which is a definite thing that can happen really quickly if you know, if you pull like 2 guys and you get 1 pop on you, you're like, okay, we're still good. 3 is fine. Yeah, but how did you kill those guys last time? Did you kill one and then it had 5 minutes or something in between the other guys, or was it you killed one and 10 seconds later killed the other guy? Because if that's the case, 10 seconds after that first guy popped, the other guy's gonna pop, and now you have 4 on you, like this guy right here in front. And then what about the other 2 guys? Did you kill them really quickly right after? Because then you may have another 2 guys. You have 6 on you. So yeah, see right there, the ghoul. So literally we killed that ghoul like 4 seconds after we killed this other guy, and that's why they're spawning so closely together. Normally you want to make sure that you space it out as much as possible. A minute and a half in between each one of the kills in a room, perfect. That makes sure that if you ever do get any bad pulls, you get 2 or 3 guys on you, and that's going to be a rough attack anyways. That if somebody spawns, you still have like a minute and a half to get that guy, you know, before anything else spawns on you. So, you know, you can handle it a lot quicker, you can kill them as fast as you want, but in my experience, it's sometimes better to sit there and just take the hits and space it out. And get it. Once you got it spaced out, now you don't have to worry about sitting there and taking the hits anymore. You can kill it as soon as it spawns, because now you have them a minute apart from each other. And no matter how fast you kill it, as long as you don't, you know, kill it in one hit, it should still be about a minute and a half away from each other. Now you may have to slow it down if you notice the spawns getting too close to one another, but it's that first initial time you do it that really takes a lot of time and takes your group working together to allow the spawns to get broken up the way it should be. And some rooms are very vital that you do it that way. Other rooms not so much. Sometimes the room is broken up in such a way that you can sit in a corner and everybody can huddle in that corner, and when the room spawns, nobody gets attacked, as long as you're all stuck over there in that one side, that one little corner. Or if the room spawns, you may only get 1 and the rest of the room won't attack you. And so that's great when you can do something like that. Then the spawn rate and the timers that you get going really don't mean all that much anymore. At least not as much as they do in other rooms. But if you get something like this where the creatures spawn and there's really no safe place for you to be, and they're going to aggro you almost immediately upon spawning, well then yeah, you have to worry about those kind of issues. And you got to do as much work as it requires in order not to, you know, basically mess yourself up in the future. Because it's only you who are going to suffer. You know, it's your group who's going to suffer because you guys were too lazy or not aware enough to space those apart. And once you realize that, you know, bad pulls happen and spawn timers do matter, then you will take that extra little bit of time to make sure that. Hold on a second. Toss another heal real quick. Not good sit down, but okay, he got aggro. The skeletons are pretty big for this Dark Elf. He's super small. Look at him, man. He is tiny. I do like his armor, though. I always thought Dark Elf Shadow Knights looked the most regal in their armor. Their breastplate was nice and pleated. You know, I mean, you look at some of the other classes, like the little dwarf over there. You know, his looks pretty cool. It looks like a vest almost. But you look at the Shadow Knight, and his just looks like a pleated suit, you know, and he has like the nice coloring that goes in it. Shadow Knights had a lot of nice coloring in their armor. You know, they could wear like the steel ones right there, that nice silver look, and then you get like the blood ember shoulders and pants, which were like the fastest and easiest ones to get. No root. Yeah, that sucks. I already have one of those, so I don't need another one. Oh, that was from earlier anyway, so. But, yeah, they always seem to me like they look the most regal as far as tanks go. As far as casters go, anything but enchanters. I hate to say that because enchanters are such a good class, but every time I saw an enchanter, they were running around in that green robe. And it just wasn't that pretty looking, but it was awesome for them, and it had good stats and stuff like that, which is all they were really caring about. They didn't really care about looks too much. And it wasn't until later on that they even gave people the ability to, you know, have dyes and things. I think that's when the Bazaar first came out, that you could actually have dyes and change the color of your armor. And I'm not really a big fan of that, mainly for a couple reasons. One, you could tell right off the bat what kind of armor somebody was wearing at higher levels, just by looking at it and seeing, oh, okay, it's purple, but it has this texture. That means it's that armor. Oh, it's purple, but it doesn't have that texture. It looks more like this. Oh, that means it's that armor. I don't even have to inspect you to see, you know, how good you are at tanking. I can just look at your character and tell right off the bat. When dyes came out, you couldn't tell that anymore. I couldn't look at you and be like, oh, okay, you have the Golden Afridi boots and you got this. Now you look like a rainbow, you know, painting or something like that. But you have really good stuff on. And so one thing is it kind of lessened the ability to find a good tank, because most of the time you're not going to spend the time to sit there and look at every single piece of armor everybody's wearing. You know, go through in detail and say, okay, he has this, and this guy has this, and this guy has this. But you'll be able to do that at first glance, which really helps you find the right person. You know, if you know you're going to be going to a dangerous room, a really, really hard room, you not only want to find somebody who's going to be a high-level tank, but you also have to find somebody who's well-equipped. And so that helps out. For me, anyways, I always like that, just to be able to tell by looking at them what they're wearing and you know, how well they're going to be able to play their class. Another thing I never really cared for with the dyes is that you could have pretty much any color. And so orgs, when it first came out, trying to be as obnoxious as possible, because that was the role-playing aspect. Back in the day when this came out, everybody role-played to some degree. I mean, you may not have gone full-fledged, but you role-played in some way. And that it's great when everybody's doing that. It really adds to the whole environment of the game, and it's almost, instead of just like NPCs that are talking, you know, in the broken English because they're ogres or trolls or something like that. Now other players you're actually interacting with and grouping with and talking to are doing the same thing, and it's just funny, you know. It's cool to see that. But when they changed the colors, a lot of the trolls and ogres decided that it would be funny to dress in really, really bright neon pink armor. And so everywhere you went, you were blinded by this bright neon pink armor, and it was funny for about 2 seconds, and then it just became annoying and stupid looking, with everybody running around in like these bright, stupid colors that you wouldn't ever see on any piece of armor. And for the most part, there was a reason behind it, because it's annoying to the eye. Like, even the people who had it said they could never go into third person again because it was just too bright for them to look at. And yet they forced everybody else to look at it, and they thought that was funny. And I guess maybe to some extent it was. Like I said, it was funny for about 3 seconds. And then after that, the effect wore off, and you're just like, okay, can you please put some other armor on that doesn't look like that, right? And it's not even that it was pink, it was just that it was like a neon color. And so it was really, really bright. If they had done that in blue or purple or anything, it would have been too bright. But they chose pink, I guess, as like a funny thing because they're a tank, and I don't know what the reasoning behind it was, but it was just really annoying. And then you started seeing just, and I guess everybody is entitled to make their character any way they want, but from a standpoint of consistency and the fact that you could lose yourself in the game with the role playing and everything like that, it really broke that illusion when people were running around dressed like a clown, and I don't know, it was just weird, and I didn't really care for it too much, and I was happy when they kind of did away with it a little bit. It's still there, but a lot of people decided that you change your armor so much, and the dyes were really kind of expensive, that people stopped using them after a while, after the nostalgia factor. Oh, that's kind of cool. But let me heal this guy real quick. Oh, great. I knew that was gonna happen. Oh man, I didn't know he had 3 guys coming. Let's go ahead and use a root. There we go. Root on you. Death Beetle. Nice. Do root on you too, punk. Because he has to have the healing. I mean, that's not an option. He has to have it. Hey, wait. 55%. That's pretty good. It's all over the place right there. Keep healing this guy. He's the tank. He'll be more likely to run off of the room before I get him all the way to full life, so I can heal Goosh anytime because he's not leaving. Ah, that's why he stayed. He's rooted. Otherwise he would have taken off by now. Okay, let's go ahead and sit down. Tell him I am at 20%. It's amazing how you can go from full power down to almost no power in a matter of seconds. So if you guys are looking for pages, there's quite a few of them here in the zone. I think I picked up like 5 already, maybe. I never even looked at what they were. So we have Words of Possession, Rune and Nagafen, Words of Tyranny. You had part of Gilmore's page, 375. Let's close that down. What else we got? Words of Absorption, Words of Element, and Runes of Oppression. Need to wait for repop anyways. Small ringmail cape. 6. So they got ringmailed and bronze here apparently. That's pretty nice. I like that. Although it seems to be all small. So if you're not playing a classic and wear small, it may not work out too well for you. What else we got? Words of... yeah. So we can all have plenty of words and runes if that's what you're looking for. I'll have to look up and see who uses that stuff and let you guys know on some of the following videos. What classes. I think it's wizards and necros are the ones majority that are using those kind of things for research into the spells, but I could be wrong on that. If you guys know, feel free to post that down below and I'll pass that on. Sit down. I guess we're going to go ahead and end the video here, guys. Again, if you like these little short videos, I don't think this one was actually that short. I think it was probably like 30 minutes. maybe a little bit longer. But if you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe. Definitely leave comments down below. I'd love to hear back from you. Not just on the gameplay, on what you guys enjoyed watching, but if you guys have stories you want to share of your time when you played EverQuest, or if you're still playing it, if you got weird and interesting and amusing stories and things of that sort, feel free to share them with me, and I'll share them on video and let you guys have the credit and let them know, whose story that was and what happened, because as part of the game is just meeting other people, learning about who they are, and just a whole a lot of talking with other people and just getting to know them. So again, guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode.